Milwaukee claims its M18 telescoping pole saw is one of the fastest cutting pole saws on the market, and I have to agree with them. It is at least the fastest pole saw that I have ever used, and I'll claim it to be the most powerful. You are watching this M18 pole saw cut through some ash that's on the ground with a 8 amp hour battery, and that 8 amp hour battery is on its last legs. It actually dies right here, and this saw just rocks it out cutting through that. So if you can imagine a fully charged 12 amp hour, a fully charged 8 amp hour, even a forged battery on this thing, it helps it out greatly, and this thing really rips. Now the rest of my use is completely up in the trees, making a lot of cuts, and this saw is awesome. There are a few things that we could talk about with it, but first I want to show you how it all kind of works and is put together. Telescoping pole saw comes in a very large box with the head disconnected. You don't have the chain on, you don't have the bar on, everything is separate. You do have a scabbard that goes over this. If we take a look at our cut capacity from the right front out, it's going to be about 9.5 inches is the most you're going to get through. That's awesome. You have a metal pulling spike per se that you can pull things out of the trees, and I did that multiple times. It works great. What I like about this is that there's enough strength in this that you have complete confidence in pulling and doing anything you need to, even pushing things out of the way if they come out of the tree. You have a standard type of chainsaw locking system here. It's only one nut instead of two, but this is very easy to lock this thing down, move it. You have an adjusting bolt here. You do have an automatic oiler. So on the other side, you have a place to add oil. And with that said, everybody's gonna ask, does it leak? And at this point in time, I have not had a drop out of this. Now this is powered through this gear that goes through the telescoping end, and it's held on to the telescoping end through this that clamps, and then another lock bolt. Here is the end. You can see that locking bolt comes into this hole here, but then there is a gear inside of here that pushes through and moves around. Now you can see after some use, there's quite a bit of grease in here, and then we can unlock this, which is much easier to do when you don't have greasy fingers. This slides in and out, and there is our rod that is going to spin that gear. So this is what connects the gear and the motor in the back. Very simple to use, very simple to telescope. Pretty awesome setup. Let's screw this guy together. Milwaukee designed this so it'll fit into a 6-inch tube. So if you carry tubes or anything like that on your landscape trailer, you are in business. This will fit without issue. What it won't do is fit in the back of a short bed 3/4 ton truck altogether. That is why I had this taken apart. That was the only way I could get it to fit, and I was about 6 inches too long. So if you want it to fit in the back of the truck and close everything up, it's just simple to take this thing apart. It is not hard to put it together, and all you have to do is get everything kind of snug here. Nothing in this has to be overly tight. Again, this is all Loctited in, and you'll see that when you get everything from the factory. The business end of the pole saw is where it is very narrow. Again, this will fit inside a 6-inch tube. You have a safety back here that you have to push down before you can pull the variable speed trigger. I struggled with this, especially when I had this fully extended. I had to find it and then be able to pull the trigger. It's not that it's bad. I wish it wasn't there. It would be easy to get out of there, but at the same point in time, it worked well, and you just have to get used to where everything is at. There is an included and fully adjustable place that you can put a shoulder strap on with this. The shoulder strap in some cases is needed because this can get quite heavy. And even for me, and I think that's something we should talk about in a little bit, but at the same point, that shoulder strap, it works, and it can also inhibit you depending on the job that you're doing. Now there's a handle at the end of this if you want to pull it out of your tube, or you can actually use that handle and the shoulder strap to get you kind of into different places. If we look at the bottom, here is our onboard tool. This is going to allow us to adjust the chain and adjust the bar, do anything we want to do, and it's very simple as far as how it goes into place, and it locks in there very well. If you want to hang this on the wall, they have a keyhole here that you can do that. The battery slips in. It will take any M18 battery. At this point, this is a forged battery, goes in, it's nice, it's easy to use, and there's plenty of room again even to grab the handle, even with the M12 or the 12 amp hour battery in here. If you hear this, turn it on, very simple. The variable speed trigger is awesome, it's very precise. To me, it's very similar to a gas model. It doesn't just kick up and go. It's very predictable, and I love the trigger. If you look down this pole saw right to the head, you'll see a white line that goes around the case. That white line lines up with the bar and chain. So if you have this up in a tree and you cannot see the bar and chain, you can use that white line as a reference of where you will cut. Milwaukee's M18 fuel telescoping pole saw is 13 feet long, tip to tip. When it is fully extended, it is going to be 8 foot 10 inches long while it's fully contracted. Now this dude is completely made for a contractor. It is built tough, it's built strong, and in my opinion, it is quite heavy. Now with that said, some people are gonna be like, oh, this is super light, and other people can do it. I believe this is built for the power that it has. It is heavy enough that when you put someone behind it and you have it up at 13 feet and it's 4 foot off the ground, so you're at 17 feet in the air, it doesn't wobble around much at all. It does have a little bit of flex, but you can completely pull on branches with it and have all the confidence in the world that you aren't pulling this apart. I was pulling on some pretty large branches at some point in time, but then cutting things, getting up in there and doing anything you want, even an 8-inch branch, if you wanted to cut it off at 17 feet, you're stretching, you're holding a lot of weight in the air, and you're making sure that everything is at the right place. So it's not crazy heavy, but it is heavy enough that you need somebody significant behind this to use it. That to me goes back to the contractor who's working with this, not just any old homeowner, because I've used many of lighter duty pole saws that are much lighter than this. The weight would not deter me. The weight is well worth it for all the power, the runtime, and everything else that you have. Now, with that said, battery operated tools, even gas, you're going to deal with power versus runtime. This dude is powerful. There is no doubt. And it loves to eat up batteries. So with a 12 amp hour battery on the end, she'll run for a little bit. With the 6 amp hour forge, she chews through it really quickly. I personally didn't notice a difference between the 6 amp hour forge, the 8 amp hour battery, or the 12 amp hour battery. This thing still was a beast and ripped through everything that I had out there. I couldn't even tell a difference in weight. I would never be able to guess what battery's on the end. I never went below the 8 amp hour battery on this. Didn't feel the need to. I imagine if you got down into the 5s, you would start to feel a little bit of it, but man, this thing rips when we're talking about cutting through branches or even larger pieces of wood, like cutting down a dead tree. You have all the power in the world and all the comfort to feel that you can get through anything you need just to rip through that stuff. And that is not something that I could say about any other pole saw. You really have to use this pole saw to appreciate it. When you extend it out, it is very smooth. When you bring everything back in, it gives you like a hydraulic cushioning feel to it. I'm sure that's some of the grease in the tube, but it just feels good. When you put it into a tree and start cutting even on a large branch, it is smooth. It doesn't jump around. It doesn't bounce. Everything here is right. This is contractor grade, battery operated tools, and you do not hear me say that very often. What a great job Milwaukee did on this saw, as many, many people are going to love it. I would love to hear your comments down below. Give us a like in this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thank you for your time. Have a great day.